couple of things what human design offers. One is it gives us a map of our energy field, of our potential, and gives a very specific strategy to how to move our aura and time and space correctly. So one, we could meet less resistance in life, meaning we wouldn't be bitter. And two, how we align our energy field. If you think about your aura as an instrument, it could be a piano or guitar. If that instrument is out of tune and you take to different environments, you take the guitar to Paris or Australia, it doesn't matter where you take that instrument. It's still going to be out of balance. It's still going to be out of tune, no matter what song you play, no matter where you are. And so strategy and authority, invitations and soundboarding is how we tune our energy field. Once we tune our energy field, we start pulling in a right environment. We start pulling in right circumstances, right people, and so forth. It does not work other way around. So let's talk about invites. Every type on this planet waits. Everybody waits. Generator waits to someone or something to respond to. Manifestor waits when the energy moves them to inform. They can't just, inform whenever. Reflector waits for the lunar cycle, and only the projector is told, actually, in our strategy, wait for invitations. Why do you think that is? Any ideas? No? Because we're pushy. We're very pushy. And the reason for that is because we're afraid that if we don't do it, nothing is going to happen. So that comes out of fear. And we have to remember, we as mental projectors, we already way ahead of the pack. Mental projectors, we function in mental awareness. So this is awareness of all time. For us, past, future, and present is all here and now. We're sensing things, we're seeing things that, maybe meant to happen 2 years from now, 5 years from now. And we started forcing them as if it is right now, we want them right now. And nothing is happening. And then we get bitter, we feel like we're losers, nothing's going on, and then more bitter and sour. And we all moving in time and space. So imagine being taken in Uber on a highway from point A to point B. And if you're going, down the road, you see the traffic light ahead of you, and you're going to turn left, right? You know you're going to turn left, and you don't wait, and you turn right away. What happens? We drive into a cornfield, you drive into the farmer's market, disaster, right? And you think, why did it fail? I knew this is what I was going, right? Because you didn't wait, because we didn't wait those 5 minutes to travel, to that traffic light, those extra miles where we could actually turn effortlessly. So when invitation comes in, that's when it's indication that that's the point in time and space to make, move, left, right, whatever, quit job, start job, relationship, divorce, whatever it is. Class, starting different class or courses, or, you name it, anything. Okay. Up until that point, when we get that invitation, what do we do? And that's the hardest question. That's the biggest dilemma for mental projectors, because, those invites come, once a year, once in a decade. Like Ross says, sometimes projector needs just one invitation, and then life takes the course, like kind of happened to me in a way. So what do we do? And what I noticed for myself and watching, so many mental projectors over the years, is finding something that gives you joy doing it alone. Whatever that is, knitting, making paper dolls, I don't know, go figure it out, go to therapy, figure it out. What gives you joy and pleasure and sweetness, and you just so excited you cannot go to bed and wake up the next morning and do it when you don't have somebody else? For me, it was video editing. That was my therapy. I used to edit and sometimes 18 hours a day. And then people noticed, people started hiring me, which was very weird. And I only went with personal invites. Anything that showed up on my trajectory, if it was a personal invite, I went for it. And I'm not going to lie, I know I don't speak a lot about in Mental Projectors Lounge, about other modalities and other things that I did along the way. I did a lot. The reason why I'm not saying what I did and what I've done, because they came to me. I don't want people to think, oh, if she did it, I'm going to do it, because that's, again, mental decision. I don't know what's going to show up to you or to other people. But for me, there's many other modalities, and I'm happy to share at some point, that was incredibly supportive, aside from living my design, that helped me to decondition, to realign, because I was a mess 13 years ago, like a total mess. So again, there are going to be other ways that shows up, and that we need to be present and aware and pay attention. Just by sitting on the couch, looking at the window and thinking, oh, that's it, it's just human design, and I just need to read about human design. It's important because it helps to understand other people. However, human design is not about reading or watching videos or studying. It's about living it. It's about doing it. So it kind of has to go hand in hand. Here's another important thing that I always tell people. If your life is happening, if your relationships are sweet, if you feel recognized, if people showing up in your life, in other words, if your life is going well, and if you feel happy, please do not change anything. Do not change anything. Human design is not a book of rules. Is not a Bible, is not a book of rules. It is not for everybody. But what it is, it only explains how energy mechanics work. People say, well, I initiated and I didn't wait for invites and it worked out fine. And I say, great, good for you. But if it stops working at some point, or if you notice that you're bitter, or if you feel resistance from, situations, this is why. Because by initiating, our body goes into the frequency of bitterness and we creating resistance. So think about it this way. There's a ball on the ground and you kick the ball. What happens to the ball? The ball flies away from you. It doesn't move towards you, right? It's cause and reaction. You kicked it, it flew away. That's exactly what human design talks and teaches us. That energy, it's all mechanical. We initiate, we get bitter, we create resistance. It's built within. We don't have to do anything. We don't have to wait for invites. You don't have to respond. Anybody that tells you you have to, ask for money back and run the other direction, because they are not your authority. Human design is not your authority. Your authority, and you have to listen what's right for you. And some people are not on Rust fractals. Some people, they're just not on their fractals, not working for them. So don't make a mental decision. Ooh, now I have to stop my life. I shouldn't do this, should do that, should do this, and then sit and wait. Because I'll tell you, it's not going to work. You're going to be miserable. And I've seen it. When I talk about my radical experience, my life came to a stop. That's why I say I had no choice. I literally came to a point where, I made another drastic move. People showed up in my life. Human design teacher showed up in my home and started teaching. No matter how much I kept saying I want nothing to do with human design, I lived it as my own personal experiment. I wanted to try it, but I did not want to study. I did not want to be involved with the community. I was disgusted actually with human design community, how just nasty is and judgmental and police. I was just not interested at all. But when General Oblivion showed up, and he started teaching human design in my house. So it really was kind of happening whether I wanted it or not, right? And I didn't know anyone on the island. I didn't know what to do. And so I just said, okay, I'll just wait and see who shows up. And it took a long time for things start showing up. It was scary. It was very uncomfortable. And it's not an easy journey. It's not a comfortable journey. But the rewards are definitely there, because boy, my life changed. And so many invitations later to, where in 2000, so this was my 7th year. On my 7th year, I got cancer, and I had to navigate through the whole medical system and health challenge and everything, knowing a mental projector, how do I soundboard, how do I move with invites. It was a very interesting year. That was my 7th year. Once that wrapped up, the whole game just changed. I felt like I just entered the next level. And then one day I got a phone call from, I don't even know who, and asked me if I wanted to go back to college. And I said, no, hang up the phone, because one, I was already 42 and I was just not interested in homogenized whatever. And then they called me again 2 months later, said the same thing. You sure don't go back to school? And I said, yeah, no, no, hang up the phone. They called me again. And when they called me the 3rd time, I thought, oh my God, what is wrong with you people? Like, what do you want? And they said, can I ask you why you don't want to go back to school? I said, I'm too old and I don't have money. I don't want to graduate with, loans and just, and they said, oh, no, 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 this is actually a private, we have a private donor who has a private scholarship. Everything will be paid. All you need to do is just show up. And I was like, what? How is this even possible? And that was a time where I kind of questioned what I want to do next in my life. And it happened to be that my friend from Honolulu was visiting me. So it was a perfect opportunity to soundboard with. And I told my friend, I said, this is crazy. These people calling, offering me scholarship to go to school. And she's like, oh my God, like, this is amazing. Like, are you crazy? Like, how often does this happen? So we started talking. And as I started talking about it, I noticed how giggly I was and how it just felt like obvious right thing to do. So I went and we filed the papers, and then they called me on my birthday and say, congratulations, you're going back to school. And I said, oh, shit. So that's how I go back to school. I don't want to. I had no idea. And so, now I graduated 2 years ago. I work in a medical field. I see 30 patients a day. Then I do readings afterwards, which kind of blows my mind. Also with the invite, I adore my colleagues. I never had coworkers in my life. I was always doing my own thing. And it works. And it works because I'm never bitter. I don't get drained. I came back from my vacation and I couldn't wait to go back to work because I miss my colleagues. I miss my patients. And no one in a million years would have looked at my design as a mental projector and said, you're going to be working, in medical field, family practice, seeing 30 patients a day. I would have been saying, you out of your freaking mind, because I could barely handle one conversation a day. Barely. When we used to have human design gatherings in my house, I used to sit by the door, never in the middle of the circle of the group ever, maybe on the 5th or 6th year, because we were doing it for a long time. I was comfortable, and Jenna would always, invite me in front of the group and ask me to speak, so I was more comfortable. But for years, I would sit by the door, and then 10 minutes in, I would sneak out and would come back in because I was so overwhelmed by energies. I felt like I had no skin. I was so raw. And so first 3 years is, that's what a lot of mental projectors say in the group. We're so sensitive. How do we deal with it? It's just how it is. It passes. So invites are real. They come in many different forms. Another thing is important to let go of the idea how we think our life's supposed to be or look. It's not easy. And it's not for everybody, and it doesn't have to be for everybody. But for me, it was a point where I really had to let go everything I thought I knew about life and world and myself and how I thought my life's supposed to go and be, and completely let that all go. It's not going to be, resonating for everyone. And some of you have structured life and, husbands and kids and all that. That was the point where I kind of start changing things, when I was like, I have no idea what's happening, and I'll just go with invites and see who shows up. And then it started showing up, not right away, but it did. And, over time, I learned how to be picky with things. Our energy is precious. And if we stop chasing things, if we stop chasing people and situations, and we really anchor, and kind of hold that core, that's when we start pulling things in. That's when people cannot get enough of it, because they sense, oh, you're different. Oh, what is there? We want to pick your knowing or whatever. Not when we're chasing them around. A lighthouse that I often compare mental projectors with, not running around the ocean looking for lost ships. Yeah, I'm very hardcore with invites, guys. Very hardcore. Kauai is a very beautiful place. It's a Hawaiian land, so it's very mysterious. It's very interesting. And all the places that I've gone to, every place I was taken to by somebody. There's not one place on the island that I initiated. I said, "Ooh, I'm gonna go there by myself," ever. There were some places that I really, really, really wanted to go, like really, really wanted to go. It was of the most, and because I was not getting invitation, I didn't go for 12 years. I just didn't. And I felt, well, maybe because these are not easy to access places, I mean, it's doable, but because it's not easy to access, I thought I better really be careful and go with an invite. And boy, when that invite came, oh, it was so magical and amazing. It was so worth of waiting. Absolutely otherworldly. So what I'm saying is that we have to be patient. Just because we think we want something, it just may not be the right time. It may not be the right people. If it doesn't come to me, it's not for me. Yes, it is. What Ross said and what I done, all invitations were very clear via people saying, we want you here. This is your house. Here's the money for you. Like whatever it was, very clear. People's like, well, about the pendulum and the feathers mean something for me if I see which is fine. One, doing that, we're not going to align our body. That's not our tool to align our body, right? And another thing is that we create symbols and their meanings. And so when you want to see something or you want something, then you start seeing things and then you labeling them. And don't get me wrong, I do pay attention to certain signs. I've been doing shamanic work for 40 years. I started doing energy healing work at the age of 6. I've been in that world for a very, very long time. And I do understand that there's other things and other dimensions and other things that's happening, but that's in conjunction with invitation. So Sheila, my friend, came to New York to visit me, and he was the one who said, oh, you're a projector and you need to move in life with invitations. And I recognize invitations because I already knew it, that in my life, I cannot initiate big situations. They come to me. I always said, the door always opens up to me. Like I don't have to look for the key, try to open the lock. I don't even need to move the knob. The door always opens up to me, and then I just need to go through. I always said that. And if I try, I feel like I'm hitting the head with the wall. And so Hawk also gave me his shaman teacher's phone number the same day. And he said, call him. You have a lot to talk to him about because of the work that I've been doing. And I thought, oh, I would like to get a shaman session from someone because I've been doing it for so long, for others, but it's been a long time or ever that I received a session. And I thought, ooh, shaman from Hawaii with like shark teeth and, feathers in the head and kind of like a kahuna thing. That's what I imagined in my head. So I called him and I left a message, and he called me back the next day. And his first words literally came out of his mouth. What are you doing in New York? With this, like, what are you doing in New York? Like, kind of like disgust. And I said, I live here. And he says, oh, you're in the wrong environment. He says, you need to come to Kauai. Haha. And I thought, what? Because Hawk kept telling me I need to come to Kauai. And then a person that I literally just connected, and he said, oh yeah, you're in the wrong place. So we ended up doing a session, and after session, he would not leave me alone. He said, listen, I never said this to any of my clients, and you have to come to Kauai. You have to come to Hawaii. And I resisted it. And I said, Hawaii was one place on the globe that I thought I would never go to. The mind. Because when I was a teenager, I watched a documentary and it really scared me how it's a small island and the tsunami could wrap around. And I thought, oh my God, never. So I kind of put like do not enter sign on Hawaii on the globe. So when I would scroll my globe and kind of wonder, where my home was, OpenG, I would always look in Hawaii and would say, hell no, okay. Scroll more. Like I was like, hell no, it's like teeny tiny and so much water around. Like, oh my God, this looks like a nightmare. So Hawaii was, a shock to me because all my life I thought I would never go to. And he would not leave me alone to the point where he snapped and he said, did it occur to you that it's not up to you and you have to come here? And I thought, oh crap. So I did. And spent 2 weeks. It was absolutely amazing. And then when I was here, people would not leave me alone when I'm moving. When are you moving? This is your home. We see you here. You have to live here. And there's so many things were happening at the same time. I just knew. And when I moved, I didn't know how long I'll stay. I just kind of thought I'll go with the invites, how long it'll keep me here. And there was one invite after another invite after another invite, house offered, scholarships offered, jobs offered, things offered. And, the question about who's going to invite us if nobody knows us, when I came to Kauai, I knew a smaller group of people, but that was it. Then Genoa showed up, human design community showed up. So human design was the only place that still, even with human design, I was still resisting and said, if they don't invite me personally, I'm not going. And they would. Then at a certain point, everybody left. This is what I was going. A certain point, about 5 years into my whole thing, my entire circle, community, my closest friends, what I call my soul family, every single person left the island. And I said, all by myself. I still was very fatigued. I could barely work. I didn't know anybody. I couldn't initiate friendships. I actually wanted nothing to do with people still. I was very sensitive. And then I thought, what the hell am I going to do? I don't know anyone. Nobody knows me. Like, who the hell is going to invite me? And I kind of wanted to leave the island too, but nothing was happening. There was no invite. I mean, people would say, oh, you should come with us, but it was very kind of vague, like with us where? And then I had to ask myself, and that's where color came in. And I had to be very honest with myself. I said, okay, you want to move where? I don't know. There's no invites. But what is it that your desire? What is my body desire? And my desire was to stay on Kauai. I love this island. And that was my truth. I said, I want to stay, so stay. And I just remember thinking, well, if I'm just going to die in my bed and nothing's going to happen, so maybe it, let it be. And then one invite out of nowhere led to another invite out of nowhere. There was a lot of nothingness in betweens and lots of freakouts and anxieties and tears and pain and all sort of things. But things slowly started rolling. Because invitation is like plugging into electrical circuit. That's when we go ahead and manifest. That's where the support comes through. That's when we are given everything that we need to complete the process. When I went back to college, I had no idea how in the world I was going to graduate and finish. Being single, having to pay for the housing, support myself and pets, and it's very expensive here. But I had to trust and just said, I'll take one decision at a time, one day at a time. And if it ever gets to a point where I really see it's not for me and I'm very bitter and it's not working, I'll quit like that. So I did one day at a time, one semester at a time. And I knew the last year is going to be very, very intense, where I have to be full time and it's lots of study. It's just a lot. And I still didn't know how I was going to do it. And I just had to trust it. And I had to trust it. And then COVID happened. And because the little job that I had on the side was involved directly with the tourism, we got shut down. I started collecting unemployment. And I got that the entire 2 semesters. And the day when I graduated, it ended. And I was already hired because somebody send me to that clinic. They said, oh, they're hiring, go there, go there, go there. And now I work 5 houses down from where I live. 5 houses down. So what I'm saying is that when invites come in and when it is correct, the support shows up in the most mysterious, weird ways. And then, we go to the completion, So that's the beauty of invite. We can initiate, but keep in mind, it might be a little more struggle along the way. And I simply do not want to enter anything that is not going to be feeding my soul and lifting me up and just empowering me and being authentic and experiencing the sweetness, because I just don't want to. So I just don't do it. But I also trust the process. I've seen it with myself. I've seen it with other people. But when it comes to you, you have to see where you at on your journey. What is your life telling you? Where is your body telling you? What's happening around you? And be open to whatever is going to show up on your way.